Good evening, everyone. This is Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust Latur MS India, organizing daily international webinar series. In this series, we are inviting the speakers from India and abroad. The speakers are delivering their topic as per their field of research and study. I welcome today's speaker, Xihui Chen ma'am, who is Associate Professor, Deputy Director of Education of Keele Business School, England, United Kingdom. Her topic is the impact of generative AI on consumer complaints in financial firms. As our today's speaker is a resilient accounting and finance lecturer with broad skills and excellent qualities and quantitative research background, she possesses effective communication skills and active participation who is passionate about collaboration. She demonstrates strong leadership and problem solving capabilities used to migrate risk and issues, allowing work to meet deadlines, budget, and objectives. So, I request today's speaker to deliver her talk on the impact of generative AI and consumer complaints in financial firms. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Let me share the screen. Okay, can you confirm if you can see my screen? I think you can, yeah. Okay, second.
Yes, screen is visible, but you remove that picture of mobile.
You mean this one? Yeah, you mean like this one, right? I don't know how to remove it, but
yeah, just shift it or okay, just shift it by clicking. Okay, it's perfect now.
Great. Okay, great. So thank you so much for the invitation and the introduction. I'm currently working from home, like basically in China. So you may see that my background is very simple without any university logo. But my today's topic is to present the impact of generative AI on the consumer complaint in the financial firms. There are three co-authors in this paper. The first one is Wei Jie, and the other one is Yu Hao. From both of them, they are doing a PhD in Shanghai University of Finance and Economics. And then I'm the third one authors on this paper. And the format of the presentation, I'm going to talk you through about the introduction, literature review, the gaps, the theories that we used, and then the data analysis that we did. So in the financial products, they are always highly complex and uncertain, especially when we have money involved. So that makes the financial sector structurally more prone to consumer complaints than other industry. Because even you have a little bit of the errors, as long as the money involved, the consumers, they tend to have a huge, complaint against your financial product. So there are many financial institutions in entrepreneurial or re-entrepreneurial stages. High complaint not only cause reputational damage to the company, they also have increased compliance burdens and operating costs, but may also be seen by the investors as a signal of weak internal governance and risk control capabilities. And that eventually affects the firm's performance and the financing channels. So in fact, financial complaints, they stemmed not only from the transaction errors, but also from the deeper issues, for example, contract uncertainties, enforcement frictions, especially when we now use so many digital platforms. A lot of the financial institutions, they try to experience so many new products, new services, just try to use all those possible advanced technologies to try to grab as much market share as possible. So the process is not just a technological upgrade, but a kind of like a digital re-entrepreneurship, so which will have a transformative impact on the financial services ecosystem. like innovation, value creation, risk-taking, and opportunity recognition, and a social sustainable impact. But the traditional digital technologies, they try to enhance the financial services control and intelligence, but at the same time, because technologies, they're always moving faster than practice. So there are many vague contract, many ambiguous terminologies that we see from the terms and conditions or even from the policy. For example, like reasonable care, enforcing event, material non-disclosure, subject to market variations, like best offer, timely manner. So you see, they try to give you a method to resolve the problem, but at the same time, it's very vague. So the generative AI, with its advanced capabilities in language understanding and generation, is rapidly embedding into the area of the financial product and services. Because we believe if we can use them or embed the generative AI, we can actually prevent complaints, because the moment that we use AI, we also use them to educate our consumers to understand more of our product services that we offer to the market. And then we perhaps can also build the legitimacy and the trust in the market. So in this case, we believe the generative AI can create new opportunities for promoting the financial inclusion, which helps companies differentiate themselves and gain competitive advantage in entrepreneurial financing, especially in terms of the financing and investor trust. So that's how we see that we have a great potential of using such platform to do the business. So in our paper, we use a large language model and text analysis methods to capture the generative AI deployment behavior of the Chinese listed financial firms. We also deconstruct the financial inclusion information using over 60 million consumer complaints record on our, so in China, we have a black cat complaint platform as well. So we also use the difference in difference model to empirically examine the impact of the GAI deployment on the consumer complaints. Now, I know that sometimes we see research presentations that to give you the methods first and then the finding. But here, I would love to share the findings with you first, so you have a better understanding about what you expect when I introduce you many tables later on in the presentation. So for the generative AI, we found is significantly reduced financial consumer complaints by expanding the boundaries of contract enforcement. And this effect is driven by improving the financial compliance and optimizing the consumer information framework. And such impact is more pronounced in the firms that provide monetary and capital market services, as well as the firms with higher media exposure. So that means if the company, they tend to post a lot or engage a lot on their social media, then they tend to have a huge impact when they use AI to handle complaints. From the perspective of the financial inclusion, generative AI primarily reduces complaints related to outcome, failures, and is more effective for consumers with lower financial literacy and the female consumers. So we wanted to contribute in many ways, but the key things will be, for example, the theoretical contribution. We use the contract theory. So the contract theory combines the law and economics, analyzing how individuals and organizations create formal and informal agreements to achieve mutually beneficial outcomes, even when interest conflict. And the second one, from the perspective of financial inclusion, this study finds that GAI has differentiated effect among many consumers group, and we provide new evidence that inclusive potential of AI, which is directly related to the inclusiveness of we say entrepreneurial finance or the availability of financing for different size of the financial institution. And the third one is the contribution to the methodology. We use a large-scale consumer complaints data to try to understand the impact of the AI on the consumer complaints. So the reason we use AI, the reason we use the financial institution as the background is because there is a need, there is a demand, and it's popular in the current trend. So you can see most of the companies that here listed, they all joined to use the AI as part of their platform, as part of their business operations as well, from purely conceptual level to now practical level. I'm sure you may see a lot of the companies that operating in India as well. And why I chose China but not other countries, it was just simply because, first of all, we have a huge data that is publicly available that for us to use. Since 2022, financial institutions in China, well, we shifted from the technology experimentation to the business embedding. And then we also introduced a guide, the healthy development of AI, in 2023, the year following. So that is why we use China as the background. One thing is also very interesting is about the complaint culture in China as well. So I think China, traditionally, we believe that we give people face. We are polite, right? We don't want to complain directly in front of a person or to a company. But because of the complaint platform or with the help of the generative AI, perhaps the complaint culture also can be changed in China. So people, they put themselves forward with their, real name, real status online to say that I was just not happy about this product. And I want to see if other people, they also share the same view. And sometimes they may, make a so-called complaint, but actually it's just a feedback for them to improve as well. I think that also can increase the interaction between companies and consumers on a public platform. Now, so AI and financial industry have been widely applied in credit, in investment, consumer services, and risk management. But beyond that, AI surpasses the traditional AI in natural language understanding, contextual reasoning, and content generation, thereby expanding the frontier of the financial technology applications. Now, there are some Chinese here, but I just want to explain to you the graph here. So in general, we got 13% using, the AI helper, the chat box. The next one, 12.7% is the chat box, 9.8% using data analysis, 8.3% using the office chat box, and then 6.5% is using coding, 4.6% is marketing content generation, and then the 4.3% is the AI investment. So we do use quite a lot of them. And that actually shape the way that we trust, the way that we enforce the mechanisms in the financial transactions. So the literature also had a stream to talk about the financial consumer protection. So the consumer complaints and right protection pathway has internal corporate complaint mechanisms, regulatory complaint, and external social mechanism pathway. So there are, of course, some negative impact on the consumer complaints, cause reputation damage, trigger special investigations by the regulatory authorities, and then perhaps even lead to class action lawsuit. And that may, lead to the administration of the company if that becomes really severe. So the antecedents of the consumer complaints, including, for example, the complexity and the uncertainty of the financial product, individual differences, different expectations, different individuals, they may have different thought, demand of the product. And sometimes that may also create some biases due to the media report, due to the corporate reputation among the market, even in different countries. Okay. And that is also perhaps due to the information transparency and technological adaptabilities. If you pay attention to the recent news, so Apple is working together with Gemini from Alphabet, like Google. So Apple is quite famous for their clients or customers' data protection. But if they start working with Gemini, other companies, then we may need to question how they're going to use the private data, okay, how they can even personalize the search engines when we use the iPhone to search things. So that becomes a question, and that definitely needs explanations from the company or even from the Gemini when we use the AI toolkit. We try to also apply the contract theory in our context as well, like a highly complex service contract, financial transactions, then they are often influenced by the information asymmetric, product complexity, and differences in the consumer cognition. So the gap between the consumer subjective expectations and the actual fulfillment of the services could be a key drive of the complaint. And that is why the product and the services provided by the financial institutions can be understood as contractual arrangement resolving around 4 key processes like consumer ID, contract design, contract enforcement, and oversight review. So we try to propose that the generative AI reshape the boundary of the contract enforcement based on those 4 areas that we just mentioned. And the first hypothesis is the deployment or the application of the guide by the financial firms help reduce the consumer complaint. And the second one is the application of the guide by financial firms improve the financial compliance, therefore reducing the consumer complaint. These are the 2 images from the platform. So for example, every time when we introduce a new product, new services, there is a live chat box trying to educate consumers why we promote this product to you. How do we customize our plan for your financial wealth management? And if you have anything that you don't understand, you can type and then they can send you more information like 24 hours, 7 days throughout the year. So that becomes quite handy and hopefully that can reduce the consumer complaint. And here they give you, different platforms. They have different ways to attract people to read, to understand. They even ask them to rate, with different colors, etc. And they try to also the information security to make sure that if, for example, we detect some interesting behavior that we believe is not from you or not by you, then that will be quickly fed back to the headquarters, and then we will start to maybe do something on your account and to protect your fund. So the generative AI can optimize the information framework for consumers by reducing their information acquisition costs, filling the gap in the financial knowledge regarding the risk perception and the product matching. Okay, so that is why we believe that if we do so, that can optimize the customer's information architecture. So as long as you know more about that, you know how to use it, you know the benefit of using that. So hopefully that can reduce the complaint to the company, and that could also increase the firm's performance because we tend to attract more customers. And here is the model, and we use to handle the consumer complaint in the iteration model. And I mentioned we extract 60 million complaints entries involving more than 20,000 market entities from the Black Cat complaints platform. We matched the name of the listed financial firms and their subsidiaries with the entity in a complaint database. We also obtain the annual number of the complaints associated with each listed financial firms. We have binary, non-binary variables in our paper as well. Okay. So apart from that, we also break data into details. One is in the financial literacy, the other one is about the gender, and the third one is different types of the complaints. Because when we talk about the types of the complaint, we could say, for example, outcome failure could also be the concern of the services experience, could also be because the process failure. So we try to categorize different types of the complaint. And on top of, having some of the machine coding to extract the data, we also have the human moderations as well. So we manually review the cases with the conflicting language learning model, so that we can label the accuracies and then to make our data coding more transparent. So the next one is about the research design variable. So these are the list of the variables that we use. So, and then if we later go to the tables, then you will be able to see how we're going to capture all those tables, all those data. But basically, the things that we use is, for example, announcement, for example, the huge drop of the stock market, for example, the recruitment information, government policy document. So anything that possible we can capture from the market, we're trying to capture them against per each of the listed financial institutions. And then we also try to combine the keyword screening with the help of the DeepSeek. So DeepSeek is kind of like a ChatGPT, but in the China version. So we are using that to assist our data filtering. And then the firms are coded as one if they engage in substantive generative AI activities. So for example, if they have a platform, if they have a scenario application, or if they have official partners mentioned in their annual report. Otherwise, it's no. So we try to also group the companies into different categories as well. And here is the list of the variable. And this is the baseline regression results. So we do find that the generative AI application by the financial companies significantly decreased consumer complaints. So that means that there is an improvement of the quality of the financial products and services. And we further use the difference in difference model in this way so that we can also see a very clear trend in this graph. And we also use many different robustness checks to see if our results are consistent. And you can see that even with the splitted by different tests, the results are quite robust and consistent. They're all in significantly negative at 1% level. And we also have the financial compliance pressure, like the number of the regulatory penalties each company faces per quarter, the number of the legal litigation cases each financial entity faces per quarter, and then we'll also use the standards as well. So no matter how we define the mechanism for the financial compliance, they also tend to have a negative significant results at 1% level. So our results are actually quite strong. And then we also use different variables to capture the consumer information framework as well, like external information disclosure, information security assurance, financial knowledge, disseminations, etc. So here becomes a bit interesting. When we have the security, that becomes that gives information disclosure framework and financial knowledge disseminations, then we do see that the results become significant. So that leads us to further break down the database into, for example, if we divided the financial services types, if we divide the financial services into monetary financial services, capital market services, insurance services, and other financial services, we do find that the first two, they are hugely, beneficial from using the AI assistant to reduce the complaints from their consumer, but not the other two. Other financial services, it is the same, consistent negative at a significantly 1% level, but the problem is we don't know the detail. So rather than being too generic, perhaps we can just use the first two to explain the phenomena behind using the generative AI in the platform. And here we do find that if the complaint is having a higher media exposure or the outcome failure, the type of the complaint, then the AI can step in and do a great job to reduce the consumer complaint. We also further divided the complaint at different stage of their business cycle. If the complaint is in the growing stage, entrepreneurial stage, and non-entrepreneurial stage, then they tend to benefit a lot from the AI, but not the mature stage. Okay, so that could due to various reasons, because when the company becomes matured, it means that a lot of their financial products or services could be very well known by the customers. So the reliance of the AI helpers may not be that high level to their customers. So that is why maybe it's just negative but not significant for the mature stage business. And then we also talk about the financial literacy, gender differences. So we do find that if you have a low financial literacy or if you are female consumers, then with the help of AI, you tend to complain lesser. Could be because you get educated through the app. You tend to know more information through the apps as well. Okay, so those are the conclusions. We believe that the generative AI by the financial companies expands the boundaries of the contract enforcement, and this can simply achieved through improving the financial compliance and enhance the consumer information framework. So the effect is stronger in monetary and capital market services. And in terms of the financial inclusivity, I believe the generative AI can definitely include more different groups of the consumers in the market, because we don't expect everyone knows the technology, and we don't expect everyone's that they are so much like welcoming, getting used to use those technologies in a very fast way. So hopefully with the help of the generative AI, we will get to know more about the risks, benefits of different new financial products and services, and better manage our wealth in a society. So thank you so much. And that is my presentation. And if you have any questions, then please do let me know. I will stop sharing the screen, so you can feel free to ask me any question.
Thank you, ma'am, for delivering your important research on generative AI and consumers' complaints. So, your research will be effective to receive the complaint, to solve the complaints. You also said that those who are reputed company, they can't affect, but small groups, they have to take care of all this. So, what are the experiences of your research so that you can go further in that?
Could you repeat the question again? So are you saying that the difference of my research to others, or?
No. What are the future plans? Because you have used AI, generative AI for that. So how this research can be implemented in general?
Well, I think because nowadays some people, they were a bit skeptical and frightened using AI platform or using AI toolkit, because they were afraid that that will take away their job, and they don't want to talk to the machine. They ask for more human interaction. So I would say for my research is actually trying to encourage more people to try to embrace the technology And I also try to, call for financial institutions to better use their AI tools and to protect the data they gather from their consumers and better customize their products or the services to the society. So this is my will for my study.
Thank you. Now we welcome Dr. Sanand Shukla sir to discuss with our speaker.
Yeah.
Good evening, Dr. BETKAR sir. Good evening, ma'am. Really very extensive, presentation you have made, and nowadays we can find out AI is coming out in every field. In India, they are using for sugarcane and for farming, sugarcane farming and onion farming. They are using AI technique, and the production is much better. But here we are talking about the consumers and AI. Um, as a individual person, what kind of barriers AI can provide, for some kind of nowadays because of digitalization, a lot many frauds are taking place. So what kind of barrier we can make at individual level, because you are talking about industries and small scale industries and big scale industries, but for the common person, how AI will become a protection for the various kinds of loss and frauds, and nowadays digital people are doing arrests and so many things are going on. So what do you think about this, ma'am? Thank you.
Yeah, so even from the compliance or law level, for the financial technology, we call that fintech. For the law level, we call that regtech. In fact, in China, we actually use a lot of regulation technology a lot in the compliance process already. In the big four accountancy firms, they also do the same as well. They recruited a lot of students from the engineering side to try to create some of the AI tools to detect if there are any fraudulent activities going on in the companies. So I think you're right. I totally agree with you. But I think that is also about the culture of the organization, and also about how the consumers they can hold the companies into account. And certainly the open platforms help, because sometimes social media they can also be a good judge in terms of how a company they use AI and how the company use the data they gather from the consumer, from the customers that they serve. Yeah, I do notice that certain industry they sold data of their customers as well. So I think that's a bit bad, but we definitely need to keep an eye on this area.
I think a company like Airtel, they have some inbuilt, protections from this kind of frauds. In India, the people are targeting the elderly people and geriatric in the sense the senior citizens, and they are taking means they are taking out money. They are doing what blackmail, and so many things are going on. And even in the market, nowadays we are stopped going in the market because everything is there on mobile. We select from there only, and sometimes we receive the product which is not of our expectation, or maybe something fraud. So to avoid this, I think we should have some robust technologies. No doubt the big companies can hire, the engineers, and they can develop their tools to protect them with the help of AI. But at the individual level, I think this is a very largest commodity, because if industries we will consider, they may be up 25% of the whole population. But when we talk about general population, if we can develop some kind of tool like this, it will be much beneficial, and that should be universal. If it is available at China, and if it is not available in India or UK or some other place, it will not help. So we should develop some kind of, you are doing a research work and it is a really very extensive. I could not get some of the points because it is really extensive. I'm from the medical field, and the mathematics and other things, I'm having little this. But yes, definitely what you efforts you are putting it, I think if it is for the common person, definitely, I think, it will be a boon for everyone. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I do agree with you. And I think from the national level, it should be some policies announced by the central government. So they should be the one that to also take the lead of these things. Together, they can collaborate with some of the larger, high-tech companies as well.
Yeah, in India, government has taken some, lead in stopping all those games and other things where the money transaction was there, and those, especially the younger teenagers were getting trapped, and they were getting trapped. So I think there is some kind of breaks the Indian government has placed, but I think on a large scale we have to see, because we are entering into this digital world, and whenever we are going in a digital world, in every transaction we are making now with the help of our cell phone. So I think that will be better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sahan Shuklaji. If anyone want to discuss on this topic, kindly unmute themselves. Thank you, Xihui ma'am, for joining, for accepting our invitation and delivering the best speech, research-oriented speech it was. And in future also you'll be here on new topic. Thank you for your valuable time for us. We have gone through your research. It will be useful to all those who are doing in the field of consumer AI generation and generative AI field. Thank you to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your invitation as well. All right. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Bye-bye.